After due consideration, the school board has agreed to renew my broadcast. Ultimately, I convinced them that my obligation as an educator is the only thing outweighing the monumental indifference of my students. Now, owing to some bureaucratic hokum about a balanced curriculum, my restored powers have come at a price. It would do the late Henry Clay proud to know the mutual displeasure this great compromise promises for faculty and students alike. It brings me no great pleasure to introduce my mandated co-host, an airman of some distinction, a scholar of the law, and an historian of, well, it's clear you wrote this yourself, Colonel John Hilliard. What say you?
Well, thank you for that flattering introduction, Miss Graves. Professor, like you, I'm deeply concerned that the average student of today, insofar as they have any inclination to self-guided reading, has chosen a literary path strewn with, well, just garbage. What with the popularity of that Harry Potter and the Twilights and Dalton Trumbo, we as educators face a grave...
Yes, grave indeed. Now, returning briefly to the point, it falls to us to compose a list of recommended and required reading that will ensure an appropriately enriching holiday. The common ground upon which we stand, finite though it may be, has produced a list both substantial and venerable.
I think, Mrs. Graves, we can agree our shared aim is to impress on our young charges just what makes a visionary like Mark Twain or Harper Lee or Peggy Noonan so unique and special. I feel I should also stress, with due consideration for a young reader's need for diversion, the satisfaction that a well-written book may afford.
Well, that just sounds lovely. On to the list. Moby Dick.
An exquisite tale of adventure and the seafaring life. I found this tale most illuminating, not as a sailor, but similarly as an airman of some distinction.
Herman Melville's undisputed triumph of ontological symbolism.
All on board a high-seas whaling ship.
Next on the list, St. Augustine's On Free Choice of the Will.
Thought we had agreed on Treasure Island.
Oh, save it, John Ed. As a supplement to the profound spiritual deliberations of Moby Dick, this will reinforce the young reader's grasp of Melvillian themes and pave the way for my third selection.
May I see that list, please?
I hardly see the point, but would it settle you down to introduce the next piece?
Well, that's a kind gesture, and yes, it would. I'd first like to say...
Oh, Gabriel's trumpet.
My first inclination was to assign the Grapes of Wrath. Well, it's no secret that in the rebellious folly of my youth I was known to carry a dog-eared copy in my breast pocket, but in the fullness of time I've quite rightly forsaken the romantic, rollicking view of the Dust Bowl so prevalent in Steinbeck's work. I've settled on a more sensible assignment of The Bridge of San Luis Rey by Thornton Wilder, and it's even funnier than Our Town.
Well, on that point, I can scarcely contradict you. But let us press on to more serious matters. To punctuate this entirely reasonable assignment, we conclude with the complete Leatherstocking Tales of James Fenimore Cooper, most notably The Last of the Mohicans, steeped in the vivid imagery of the French and Indian War. Cooper's pen paints a unique portrait of the New World colonies, still reliant on the strength of their motherland and crown during the fight against the French and indigenous peoples of America.
A masterful tale, I agree. However, in no way is this a demonstration of American dependence upon British power. In fact, it is a revelation of British stubbornness and resistance to adaptation, which ultimately cost them these United States.
Now in Cooper's time...
The 7 Years' War only took that long because British command would not fight in a way the colonists survived against the Iroquois League, with little, if any, help from imperial support. The clear thematic undertone of this work is a unity being established amongst the colonies and their awakening to the fact that they were dependent upon no crown.
Huffle, did you read at quizzes? Will commence when school classes do. No excuses will avail. Now go and be gone. Oh, Chingachgook.